So you hear me talking about high-level systems a lot. You hear me preaching about it. I don't shut up about it. I'm obsessed with them, to be honest with you. I have been my whole restaurant career. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've been helping restaurants with high-level systems for the last 10, big corporations, restaurant groups. It's been my obsession, and that's what I've been doing, honing in my skills on training, culture, leadership, but high-level systems, because that's a big, big piece of the puzzle. And a lot of people ask me about it. What is a high-level system? What does that look like? It's actually pretty simplistic, and I'm not going to get into the finite details of it, but what I am going to tell you about right now is what makes a high-level system work, what you need to make a high-level system work, an important piece of the puzzle, and that's going to be an accountability system that's attached to that high-level system. If you don't have an accountability system attached to that high-level system, then you might as well not even have it, because what you're doing is you're asking people to basically perform a task at a high level and then just hoping that they do it. Right? And that leads you to the 20% of good workers that you have that will just naturally do it, will just do what they're asked because they're good employees, and then the 80% that won't. Now, the 80% that don't doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad employees. It just means that they just don't have that mindset. They're not geared that way. They're not built that way to just, you tell them to do something and they do it, right? A lot of people just want to do what they think they see fit, what they think is best, what's convenient for them that day, depends on their mood, etc. And then there's 20% of the people that just do their job because that's how they're built, right? So we have to focus on developing systems to accommodate the 80%, right? The 20% of people that do what we ask, we don't need to worry about them. We need to worry about the 80% that won't do what we ask when we ask it. Now, accountability system, in theory, when I talk about it now, it sounds obvious and sounds easy, right? Oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. Sure, let me handle that. I'll hold them accountable. That makes sense, but it's very difficult to implement for many reasons. One, there's an actual system to it. You can't just start yelling at people or just telling them they're doing their job wrong or whatever. There's steps. It's difficult to hold people accountable for the small things all the time because it's taxing on you, it's taxing on the employee. So again, you have to do it the right way, but you have to do it every time. That's the point. If you don't do it for the little things, then they're going to turn to big things fast. And that's the difference. The difference between really successful restaurants and restaurants that just do well is that they hold everyone accountable even for the smallest details possible. I've worked for restaurants that would hold you accountable if you're $2, $5 over your drawer, no matter what. There are no excuses, right? And that's okay. There's okay to be no excuses as long as you set up your accountability systems and your systems right, which means you have to set expectations. That's the biggest thing, right? When you're hiring, you're setting the right expectations. When you're training, you're setting the right expectations. When you're doing the exit interview for the training, from the training, for the server, for the bartender, whoever, you're still setting those expectations. So they know exactly what's going to happen. When it happens, they're going to be okay with that, or as close to okay as possible. But that makes it into a business, right? We know that when we work in this restaurant, when we work at your restaurant, if we do something outside of the systems, that we're going to get held accountable no matter what. The systems have been taught to us the right way, explained to us the right way, so we're eliminating all the excuses from the employees. The only excuse they could possibly have for not doing a system is two things. One, they decided not to do it, or two, they forgot. Either one of them is unacceptable. And I always tell them, imagine if you got pulled over by the police for speeding. You could not tell them that you forgot. It's not going to work. And it's the same thing here. We're going to give you a rule. We're going to make it crystal clear. We're going to have you sign a paper. We're going to explain it to you. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to have you do it. And we're going to tell you that what's going to happen if you don't do it. Outside of that, if you decide not to do that system for whatever reason, it's because you chose not to do it or you forgot. Either way is unacceptable and you're going to be held accountable. And the accountability system has to be set up in increments, right? It has to be progressive, right? Verbal, written, actionary. Everything has to be documented the right way. Everything has to be stored the right way. It's all important because of A, legal reasons, of course, and B, making sure that you're running an honest operation where you're giving the people a chance to grow. If someone doesn't do what we're asking them to do, if they're deemed even a bad employee, we want to try and help them. We want to try and nurture them and grow them. We already trained them. They're already in our system. We might as well try and get them up to par. And that's going to take some time. But we call it coaching and cutting. You got to coach them first. If you can't coach them, you got to cut them. One of the most successful restaurateurs I ever talked to and interviewed and picked their brain, they said you hire fast and fire even faster. And she's like, I keep my employees. She said, some of my biggest positions I have in my company are servers and bartenders and hosts. I've been here for 10, 15, 20 years. She goes, but you also have to fire fast. If you see someone's a problem and they're not going to be able to fix it, fire them, get rid of them, because they're going to be turned into a cancer and spread like wildfire in your company. You need to cut that. It's your job as an owner is to cut it, but that doesn't mean that you're just firing people on the spot. It's coaching, honest to God coaching, or really trying to coach them. And when you realize they're not going to be coachable, you got to cut them fast. No more friend stuff. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, I need them. I need warm bot. No, you can't do that. You have to protect your business, and part of that is making sacrifices.